I will share the screen and we will talk a bit about our project, 1 square meter flax in a sustainable perspective. And we will present for you some slides from each country. Well, then we start with Norway. And Linda, you will take the word.
I will talk about our organization in Norway, the Norwegian Folk Art and Craft Association. We are dedicated to promoting traditional handicrafts. Since 1910, we have worked to enhance traditional craftsmanship, pass on craft skills, and share the joy of making. Because taking care of our things, utilizing the resources around us, repairing, making, and reusing is an important step towards a more sustainable society. Holdbart, meaning sustainable, is the organization's initiative from 2019 to 2024, and it looks in particular at the connection between traditional crafts and sustainability. Holdbart is linked to the UN's Sustainability Goal number 12, responsible consumption and production. Our organization wants to promote durable products that are made to last and inspire to repair, reuse, and take care of our things instead of throwing them away or buying new ones. The initiative Holdbart permeates all parts of the organization, from the activity in the local member groups to the work that is done centrally in the organization. Through Holdbart, we aim to increase material knowledge among consumers, conduct training in techniques that extend the life of objects, and raise the status of traditional crafts. Traditional crafting is about utilizing available resources, useful and beautiful products, and doing it with diligence. It also rests on knowledge-based knowledge and is part of our intangible cultural heritage. With knowledge of materials and techniques, you are better equipped to make well-thought-out choices as a consumer. If you know something about materials, you know what qualities you're looking for in a new product. If you know something about techniques, it's easier to recognize good craftsmanship. And if you make something yourself, you know how much resources are required in terms of materials, time, and knowledge. In addition, if you made something yourself, you also know what it takes to repair it. You already know the materials, you can use the tools, and you already have knowledge and techniques needed. You might think twice before throwing it away. The textile sector has major climate and environmental challenges. Knowledge of materials is important to understand the premises for the debate on textiles, climate, and environment. Through the initiative Holdbart, we have worked particularly with material knowledge and looked at textiles in connection with the environment and climate. Several projects have been started through the Holdbart initiative. Fikselaug, or mending groups, we have 155 all around Norway. You see one at the picture here. And the project Everything Can Be Fixed spreads knowledge about textile repair, materials, and techniques to new target groups. The Green November campaign stands as a counterweight to Black Friday. 1 square meter flax in Norway is also part of the Holdbart initiative. We run a Facebook group with almost 2,000 members that love flax. The last 2 years, we have distributed 200 packages of flax seeds, encouraged all others to get seeds themselves, and motivated everyone to start growing flax. We motivate all members to share their flax experiences and knowledge about flax, growing and making and using fabrics made of flax. We will continue to do so in the future. Thank you.
Then we give the word to Denmark, if I can manage to change. Lotta, please take the mic.
Thank you very much. I represent the organization Fora in Denmark, and we have a view on the sustainable development that is very much likely the things that Linda from Norway just told about. We would like to follow the Sustainable Development Goals from UN and the green transition. We do think we would get a lot of development by promoting sustainable education. In that we have a project that's in 1 square meter flax. In Denmark, it's called 1 kvadratmeter hør. That's the 3rd year that we try to expand that project. We would like to get a lot of people to know more about the materials and especially how it's grown, how it's used, to get more knowledge about what is happening behind the cloth of linen you can buy, and get more understandable for that. That's just one thing we try to promote in the sustainable development in the fora. Among other things, we also have a sustainable network for our member associations. They meet up to 4 times a year, and they share an experience and try to make some courses or projects themselves to development the sustainability. Yeah, there's a lot more to say, but I think that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Lotta. Then I give the word to Sweden.
I'm Agneta from Sweden. 1 square meter of flax is a sustainable project with education for the public in focus in Sweden. The project contributes to achieve goal 12, responsible consumption and production. And since 2020, we have worked with the project, and many thousands have taken part in the knowledge about the handling of flax over the years. It has increased awareness of today's textile production and consumption. The whole process, how flax is sown, grown, and prepared, show how important knowledge is to understand how to produce a thread. The sustainability aspect of the clothing industry becomes clear for the participants, and one of the results of the project is that more people understand and learn more about it. This project also shows the importance of pursuing the knowledge within our organization. So that's what's from Sweden.
Then we will go further on to Finland. Kika.
Thank you, Raiden, and good evening to everyone. The themes of sustainability touch the activities of the Finnish craft organization Taito: sustainable craftsmanship, repair, maintenance, preservation of skills, and appreciation of work and transfer of knowledge are important to us. Our plan is get the processing of flax from seed to Finnish fabric to the Finnish Living Heritage Wikilist in cooperation with other actors. Taito Craft Organization in southwest Finland have created a project called Pave's Linen Tour. In this tour, craft producer Paula Pave travels to different elementary schools and tells her linen story. This story is about her huge interest in linen, which led her growing her own flax, processing it and making yarn out of it. Along the story, Pave also tells facts about linen and its history. She tells how sustainable this material is. Pave says, "This is one of the most important things to teach young people. Young people might not know how pollution it is to produce clothes and fabric nowadays in developing countries far away. Linen would be a better option to grow in Finland again too, as it was really important dozens of years ago." And in the end, I'd like to say that 1 square meter of flax, 4 metri pellavaa, project is over, but the work is still continuing here in Finland. Thank you.
Thank you, Kika. And then we go on further to Iceland.
Hello, good evening, everyone. So here in Iceland, we are very concerned with the health of our oceans. Being a coastal nation, like many of our neighbors, well, all of us in the Nordic region, we rely heavily on our sea and our fisheries. So having a healthy ecosystem in our oceans is very important to us. So sustainable textile materials, they support ecological health. Sustainability, of course, presumes that resources are finite and should be used conservatively and wisely. But the kind of fibers that are not sustainable, there are synthetic fibers such as polyester and nylon, which are byproducts of petroleum. So not only are they non-biodegradable, they create a long-term threat to the ecosystem through laundering. Flax, however, is a renewable source that is fast growing. Few, if any, chemical pesticides and fertilizers are required in the cultivation of flax, making it more eco-friendly than, for example, cotton. And most importantly, perhaps laundering flax will not result in microplastics being released into our waterways and oceans, which means that we can still enjoy our fish that all the Nordic countries are known for consuming. So that is why I think researching flax, the production of flax in the Nordic countries is especially important to us living just below the Arctic Circle. Thank you.
Thank you, Iceland. And then in the end, we will just read the slide from us.
Wait a minute, Radon. I think Margit is here.
Okay,
Isn't she?
that's good.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Hello.
Please, Margit.
Yeah. Did you hear me? Are you hear me?
Yes, and
Yes.
see you.
Yeah, that's good. I'm Margit and I'm a researcher and flax enthusiast. When looking at flax from sustainability perspective, then I bring out its positive and even some negative sides. I'll go through them quickly as my time is very limited. First is positive sides. Linen material is very durable and it wears out significantly slower than synthetic fibers in various items. Flax cultivation itself in Europe, for example, helps to absorb 250,000 tons of carbon dioxide per year. As a material, the entire residue can be used, and in the final stage, the natural linen material can even be composted. Minus the sides, it's very labor intensive. Cultivation depletes the land and soaking in large quantities pollutes in the environment. In summary, as a material, flax nowadays makes sense to produce industrially. Linen producing by hand is rather than niche product. The aim is to introduce the flax field, history and cultural tradition. But we were inspired by the 2022 Nordic Common Flax Cultivation Project. And this year in Estonia, 2024, we will organize a similar project in Estonia, 1 square meter hemp. We distribute seeds to those interested and present the history of hemp at various events. We also go through all hemp processes to obtain textile fiber. And
Thank you for listening, and come to see us on 7th to 9th of November in Tallinn, Martin's Day Fair, where we also show the way to work with flax and hemp. Thank you.
Thank you, Margit. That was nice to have you with us. Well, that was a tour in the Nordic countries and about the 1 square meter flax and sustainability. And Lotta, I will give the word back to you.
Thank you, Radon. That was a very nice statement we heard from every country. There's a lot to build on. And the next in program is Johanne Stenstrup from Denmark. She gets the microphone now. Johanna is a flax nerd and works a lot with the sustainable angle of textile materials. And she will tell more about that herself. Johanna, will you take over?
Yes, thank you, Lotte. I will share my screen now. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm very happy to have been given some minutes, some small 20-15 minutes today to talk about the potential sustainable superpower that linen or flax linen is. Some of what I will say have been covered by the lovely representatives from the countries. So we won't linger with that, but yeah, a little bit about me. As Lotte said, I'm a flax linen nerd, basically a fiber nerd. I'm a professional fashion manager. I work today as a communicator. I've been participating in the 1 square meter flax project, and I'm an avid crafter as well as an author. So what I want to focus on is the sustainability potential of the industrial linen production, because when we see linen from a craft perspective, and the small hand scale, of course, it's mostly and almost exclusively good, done with the nature in mind. Of course, it uses resources, but nothing compared to the industrial production. And for this, I think it's important that we are aware of the scale. So linen fibers is less than 1% of all textile fibers. So what you see here is the global fiber production in millions of tons. The thing that is really important to see here is that flax is the sage green at the top, and it's stayed the same, but it's everything else that's skyrocketed. And this graph also shows you the problem with fashion and sustainability in general. And it's not the fiber mix, sort of, it's the quantity. And in that sense, it's interesting that the flax production is pretty stable. Again, less than 1%, you can see over here to the right, other, and then it's again a small part of others. There's also jute, coir, hemp, as we heard about, sisal, agave, rami. The biggest is jute, and that is home textiles when we talk about other. But let's go to flax and linen and sustainability. So we've heard a lot of good things about linen so far. I was happy to hear that you said Estonia, it also can deplete the soil and other things. I think it's really important to look at both the good, which I call the potential, and the downfalls, so that we're not praising a fiber that is really good when we grow it locally and do all the right things, but that is also part of a huge global industrial production system. So potential benefit is that it grows quickly and can be grown as a rotational crop. Rotational crop growing is really good for the land because it makes sure that there are different nutrients, and also it can be good in agricultural communities where you can grow food and other cash crops. but it also means that some places, and when I say some places, you can imagine China, because China is the #1 linen and flax producer in the world. And because it can grow quickly in warm regions, they can have more than one flax harvest at a year, and that really depletes the field and the earth. Flax does not need much fertilizer, if any at all. That is true when it's grown in the right region, but it's also possible to grow faster with chemical fertilizers. So again, it's not to say that all flax is grown organically. Flax doesn't need much watering if grown in its natural climate. Its natural climate is middle of Europe, the southern part of the Nordics, that belt, Baltics into Russia, and down until middle of Italy is a really good climate around the world in that belt. But it is also grown other places where it may be hotter and where it doesn't rain so much, and those places they will need to water it, making it a potential thirsty crop, though nothing compared to cotton at all, which is like such a thirsty crop. Flax can thrive when grown organic, but that's not to say that all flax is grown organic again. And then there's also, what does organic mean? There are different standards, so I'll come to this, but generally when I look at linen or flax products, I look for either grown in Europe, or if it's not grown in Europe, I want it to be organic. Even though the standards maybe for Chinese organics is not what we're used to, it's still better. So one of the benefits that you hear a lot is that flax, when turned into linen, is mainly a mechanic process using next to no chemicals. This is true. You can do a chemical retting, retting the fibers, the fermentation process of getting the fibers ready, but that is usually then contained. But there is a downside to it being such a labor-intensive process, and that is that it needs labor people. They may be underpaid, and also mechanic processes, these machines, they mainly run on diesel. So the last benefit is that linen fabric is mostly biodegradable. It's completely biodegradable if it's untreated, but it can be dyed with hazardous chemicals that we don't want landing up in nature. So just because something is marketed as biodegradable does not mean that we want it to degrade in nature. So where does the good stuff happen and where does the bad stuff happen? The European flax is mainly grown organic, though it has no standards for it, also because it's not a food crop. But there are two certifications you can look at. One is Masters of Linen, and the other is European Flax. And a lot of linen is produced, or a lot of flax is produced here, but unfortunately, European-wise, we do not have full capacity to process and spin and weave our flax. So most of the linen products that we buy in Europe may be spun in China. Because spinning is the bottleneck process, and it was so historically. For many of our countries, it's true that at the height of linen production in the 1800s, actually they were having to go out and make guilds and have thousands and thousands of women spin at home. For those of you who tried it, you know it's physically, it's much harder to spin than wool. It's much harder to get fine to the point where it's thin but doesn't break. And apparently they're just really good at spinning in China industrially. We have facilities, and actually I just read that there are opening 3 full-scale facilities in France and 1 in Italy, which is really good news. So for linen spinning. But it also means that even though it might be a European grown flax, the linen product might still have been at a facility with potentially questionable ethics. So linen in the climate crisis. This is one of the things I find so fascinating, is looking at the future that we are going to have, and then looking at what product might best suit it. So what you see on the screen is extreme heat, extreme rain, drought, winds, fires, and how can we clothe ourselves both in a way that does not contribute to the climate crisis, but also is good for the climate crisis. And actually linen is a really good fiber for a warmer and a wetter future. There are some excellent properties of linen, and I feel even silly just mentioning it because I'm sure we're all fans. Linen ventilates more, keeps the skin cooler compared to all materials. So there is no material, even wool, that can compare to linen when it comes to keeping us cool. Linen insulates better and keeps the heat in terms of cotton and viscose. Over here you can see sort of a graph of how much better it is at moisture management than cotton and polyester, viscose and polyester. But we don't see wool here, and then wool is still the superior fiber when it comes to insulation. Linen suck moisture from the body. It keeps the skin dry. It's almost as good as wool. The only difference here is that wool absorbs moisture and does not necessarily feel wet, whereas linen absorbs it and then it dries really quickly. So it carries fluid faster from the inside to the outer layers. And this is also why it was the absorbency and the ability to take in moisture was why it was made for underwear for thousands and thousands of years. And yeah, it dries faster than other natural materials. So I would say all in all, it's one of the best materials to have in the changing weather. However, linen is an amazing, really great fiber. It has many proven properties, but one property that it is often ascribed to linen is its hyperallergenic or anti-allergenic allergenic properties, so that if you have allergies or are sensitive to stuff, linen should be especially good. This is a myth that's thrown around a lot, and it's when you measure it, it can't really be proven. Linen is a natural fiber, and if it's clean, if it does not contain hazardous materials, it is really great for sensitive skin. And the properties of taking moisture, it's also very anti-static. It carries like literally no static at all. And these things make it feel really great. But that does not mean that it has anti-allergenic or hyperallergenic properties. However, it is true that it can be really good to have near the skin. It can be really good to have if you have rashes. And one thing that is true, though, is that bacteria loves to grow on synthetic fibers, and smell loves to grow on synthetic fibers. But linen does not have better properties than other clean natural fibers. through this. It just maybe feels more cool, and that might be nice to someone who's very sensitive. The last thing I want to touch upon is how to make the linen in your wardrobe more sustainable. So I wish we could do like a raise your hand, but then maybe just do it anyway if you have any linen items in your wardrobe. Because in terms of sustainability, the number one thing we can do is buy less and wear what we have more and keep it for longer. And there are some things that are especially true for linen products that make them more durable in your wardrobe. Here are some examples of just modern linen clothes. I think it's fun to see where trend is hitting. But generally, what you want to do is wash on low. I mean, this slide, it seems almost too simple, but I include it anyways because our washing habits are actually a big contributor to the overall environmental impact of our clothes, because the longer we have them, the more times we actually do care for them, wash them, dry them, etc. And so it becomes a part of the carbon footprint of our clothes. So we can never diminish how we take care. So wash on low temperatures. 30 to 40 degrees is the best. Also, if you do not want too much shrinkage and too much damage to fade to colors. So wash on low. Maybe wash less, hang to dry. Linen, because it wicks moisture, can also take some of the smell with it. So maybe see if you can extend the wear 2-3 times. Never tumble dry. This is not good for the fiber. Linen is it's not a stretchy fiber at all. It's a very rigid, stiff fiber, which also means that it's very straight. So tumble drying it is doing exactly the opposite of what it likes. It's throwing it around. So that will make it peel more, and peeling is when you get the fluff on the outside of the garment. So never do that. Hang or lay flat to dry. If it is a colorful garment, hang to dry in a shady place. If it is a white garment, out in the sun, let the sun help you bleach it. Iron or steam while damp. It's very personal whether you like your linen clothing to be crisp or you like the wrinkly effect. It does wrinkle more than other fibers, again, because it is such a stiff and rigid fiber. It's not elastic. So yeah, iron or steam while damp. Actually, the fiber loves to be ironed because it helps it lay flat and it helps it gets it back to the very flat place. Then store in a dry and dark place. This is true actually for all of your clothes, but linen has a hard time holding on to color. It's harder to dye than silk and than wool, and so you also want to preserve the color as much as possible, and so in a dark place is a good place to store it. Yes, thank you. That was a quick introduction to linen and sustainability, and I can also take questions later if you want, but I just want to make sure that we're all in the same place, that linen can be like one of the absolute most sustainable fibers out there, but it can also be grown in questionable ways around the world. It is part of the fashion industry machine. Yes.
Thank you very much, Johanna. I'll ask Linda, because she's in charge of chat. Is there any chats for Johanna right now?
No.
No?
No.
there might come some.
You are very
later.
clear, Johanna.
Yeah.
There's
Yes.
a raised hand, I see.
Yeah, but
that might be from your question if anyone had closed
right.
because lots of people raised their hands. I think I saw at least 15 hands.
Lovely.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So we all have linen in our closet.
We just
okay.
got one question.
Yes.
And this is from Marita. Is it true that you must have a cultivating circulation of 7 years for a field when you are growing flax?
Yes, that is one of the advice that is out there, especially if you're doing it industrially. It needs to rest. Many other crops need this as well, a rest. But it can also be mitigated by growing other things. So in rotational cropping, traditionally it was advised to rotate every year or every second year. But yes, it's now an industry standard with the 7 years. But since it's only 3 months growing period, it makes sense to have it in a rotation anyway with other food crops or winter crops or something like that.
Okay, thank you. No more questions so far.
Okay. Thank you very much, Johanna. Very much material to read and think about. So thank you. Then we will give the microphone to Nina.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me to have this presentation about Fibershed and flax and political views for the future. My name is Nina, and I am a co-founder of the Norwegian Fibershed movement, and I'm also chair at the moment. I have a master's degree with wool and felting from the Norwegian University of the Southeastern Norway in traditional art. I also have a teacher degree, and today I work as an art and craft teacher in primary school. So the agenda for my presentation is divided into 3 different parts. The first one is, what is a fibershed and how did the textile movement come to life? Then I will go on to defining sustainability and talk a little bit about flax and linen from land to material, craft and industry. The third and last part is a way forward, 3 political adjustments. Okay, so let's start. The term fibershed sprung to life when Rebecca Burgess, the founder of the Fibershed movement and organizations, she started reflecting on how difficult it was in 2010 in California to get a hold of locally produced clothing. She was a student learning more about biology, and her interest led her toward the idea that this could be incorporated into the world of textile. The word fibershed stems from the term watershed. This describes an area of land that contains a common set of streams and rivers that all drain into a single larger body of water, such as a larger river, a lake, or an ocean. In the same way, a fibershed describes the specific area of land that all connects a full circle of textile engagement. Everything from farming the raw material, the land, to production, dyeing, manufacturing, wearing, and then back again to composting the materials and clothing. This is called a soil-to-soil vision. Here you can see the composting, applying pasture and farmland, rangeland farming, and carbon. You also have that provide nutritions. You have sheep and cotton and bast fiber and dyes. That provides the fiber to the fiber and dye processing, which again, they clean and card and spin and dye fibers and weave or knit into fabrics. Then you have the designers and makers that refine the fibers and threads. You have them cut and sew textile, making them into garments or other textile for interior design of furnitures. And then you can then recycle the nutrients or the garments if they are without chemicals completely. So the Fibershed organizations are non-profit organizations that within their area of land develops regional fiber systems that build ecosystem and community health. They all work with different areas of community work, education, and climate beneficial agriculture. The aim is to transform the economic systems behind the production of material culture to mitigate climate change, improve health, and contribute to economic fairness. The international organization envisions a textile system that embraces the value of decolonized and rightful soil-to-skin processes. The vision is to strengthen an international system of diverse textile communities that directly enhance regional economies. The purpose is to generate permanent and lasting systems of localized fiber production. These regional land regenerating production systems will diminish pressure on the ecologically undermined areas of the world. So the Fibershed affiliates around the world, strengthening the movement. Today, there is change happening. There is a nourishing tradition emerging all over the world that connects the wearer to local fields where clothes are grown in a system that can last for countless generations into the future. Exploring questions like the ones Rebecca Burgess had in 2010, where is fiber grown and raised in our community? How is fiber made? How is fabric made? And who sews, knits, or makes clothing or textiles today? Affiliates all around the world are starting to emerge. Today, there are approximately more than 65 Fibersheds located in USA, Canada, Europe, South America, and Asia. And here Europe is making a strong statement with already 17 local and national initiatives working to strengthening and regaining the strong European textile craft and manufacturing tradition. It is our geographical landscape that defines and gives boundaries to the natural textile resource base. Awareness of the bioregional designation engenders appreciation, connectivity, and sensitivity for the life-giving resources within our homelands, and reconnect us to the way our indigenous communities has and is still connecting with the land and each other. The supply chains within the affiliate Fibersheds is creating climate beneficial clothing that will become the new standard. We envision a world looking to rapidly reveal the effects of climate change, where consumers, manufacturers, designers, and ecologists collectively rethink and reimagine the life cycle of garments. We grow and craft the change in close collaboration with nature, plants, animals, and local communities. The Norwegian Fibershed, which I am a co-founder with together with 2 other amazing women, was active and open for memberships and producers in March in 2023, so last year. Today, we proudly announced 19 directory producer members and a total of 69 members that support the movement of creating a soil-to-soil vision in Norway. A vision of a national textile community based on using local fibers, local dyes, and local labor. The Norwegian Fibershed Nordenfjeldske Fibershed is divided into 5 bioregions which cover northern Norway, mid-Norway, eastern, western, and southern Norway, respectively. A bioregion is the ecological and geographical area that forms the natural resources, basis for regional raw material and textile production. Bioregions also include the human resources found in that area. Our goal for the next few years is that every Fibershed bioregion in Norway will have one or a team of coordinators who are responsible for network activities and research within that region. Our organization is founded and work based on 3 important areas. It's circular collaboration, network building, and knowledge and research development. Our aim is to promote locally rooted textile production based on local raw materials and value chain. One of the most positive sides of the structure of the organization is that it provides an umbrella for everyone engaged in local textile work. It is also not a top-down structure that works theoretically with green sustainable solutions or green growth innovations, but it is a grassroots leveled organization that lifts and strengthening the voices and work of the farmers who produce local animal and plant fiber materials based on soil health visions. In addition to textile producers based on local fibers and dyes, we also invite all the other levels of the textile chain of production as designers, craftsmen, architects, and other professional groups were important, not forgetting the artists and artisans. Our aim is also to act as a network for entrepreneurial activity, provide opportunities for joint marketing and quality assurance. When doing so, we have set up a digital platform for fiber textile producers in the region that will increase the members' visibility. A platform that focuses on giving small local businesses opportunities to be seen and heard. One of our first goals has been to engage in research projects to help our communities with problematic themes. We are partnering today in a Baltic Nordic project investigating how coarser wool and felting as a technique can be fertile and how different countries within this region is coping or dealing with the problem of low value wool and it's sadly wasted. In October last year, we also got funding from the Norwegian Directorate of Agriculture in a project that we called the Textile Farmer and the Fashion Agriculture. For the first time in our agriculture department, they envisioned the textile word when researching and funding projects related to agriculture, and that was a possibility we had to grasp. The Textile Farmer project is based on data gathered during the mapping of our directory, a microgrant provided to us by Fibershed USA in 2022. And it quickly became clear that many small-scale contributors within Textile Norway do not communicate with or know about each other. The prerequisite for us to be able to successfully re-establish the textile industry in Norway depends precisely on a holistic approach to all sources of raw materials, to all parts of the value chain, and all potential end users. And here the wool industry in Norway has a clear advantage because there is an established system with a good quality chain from sheep farmer to wool sorting, which ensures that wool is available in quality classes. But many alpaca, mohair, and cashmere farmers did not get enough sales for their fibers because there is no logistic system for processing it in Norway. There's also farmer, reindeer owners, hunters, and fish farming industry that want resource utilization and provision for everything that is not food. Hides and skin traps partly constitute waste problems, bones and horns do the same. If they are processed, this happens primarily outside of Norway with a loss of value creation. And plant-based fibers like flax has no commercial production or agricultural focus. Fiber and food hemp is also still prohibited to grow. So today there is a lack of mapping of the various links in the value chains for wool, other animal and plant-based fibers, hide, skins, and leathers, and this is where our work over the next 2 years will take place. Manufacturers, refiners, and designers must be able to find each other. Politicians and advisors need knowledge about available resources across industries and county boundaries with a perspective that is holistic and underpins a sustainable circular economy. We want to highlight the textile farmer, which is our term, and ensure that they are seen on the fashion catwalk and furniture fairs. The aim of the project is to build a network throughout the textile value chain that highlights Norwegian agriculture as a textile supplier, from the farm to high quality design in clothes and textiles. Communicate this network widely. So we are a people's movement for local textiles that utilize the small scale advantages of the historic textile craft. But what is sustainability? It is a term so used today to me that sometimes it's lost in meaning and translation, and also maybe its true effect. What does it really relate to and for whom? And an often used interpretation of sustainability is found in the Brundtland report, and it focuses firmly on human needs. So basically, Brundtland is stating that we as a human race must not foul things up for our descendants, which is good, and coming generations. But can we really see an outcome any different from now if the policy that we choose still is designed to secure maximum human welfare over the long term? One question with focusing on long-term human welfare is that will it automatically safeguard natural capital? Another problem when defining sustainability in terms of human needs is that our needs partly function on our available resources. Environmental degradation is a factor that we can gamble with. The definition I like to use that resonates closely with the vision of soil to soil, animal and community health within the Fibershed vision, I have borrowed from the world of conservation. It speaks about sustainability as preserving the future as a realization of the potential of the past. And when doing so, we negotiate the transition from past to future in such a way as to secure the transfer of maximum significance for all parties involved. And looking back on an active Norwegian flax and linen production, there is much to learn and preserve the future sustainable developments. So the Norwegian flax engagements today is growing. I've spoken to a lot of people the last couple of weeks, not only within the crafts communities, but also with farmers and the agricultural domain. When talking to experienced flax and linen crafters and organizations in Norway, they present a picture of a growing movement that supports the rise of a Norwegian and Nordic plant-based textile fiber. The project 1 square meter linen and flax has been very successful in our country and have broadened and extended the craft and knowledge of growing and refining flax and linen textiles. I personally know many that have such a great experience with growing their own square meter of flax in their own garden. In a way, this can be a transition from our historical use on the farms, where every small farm had their own little patch of flax, then refining the fiber through retting, scotching, and hackling, making yarn and textiles all over Norway. So in terms of ecological health, flax is a good option due to its low environmental impact. And we've heard a lot about this. So for everyone that has been listening, this is just a reminder. It can grow with no added fertilizers, pesticides, or herbicides. The plant is also a good option when rotating crops for restoring health. There have been said that you can get an average yield increase of 5% for the following crop when using flax. Its best use is obtained when using the fiber untreated, avoiding bleaching or heavy chemicals. It's also durable and compostable, also without the chemicals within the Fibershed soil-to-soil vision. And it is and can be a local fiber with guaranteed traceability. And in Norway, with our harsh and weather-beaten climate and landscape, flax is a plant fiber that resonates well with growing and surviving conditions. In 2022, the total world production of flax and hemp and jute had a rate of only 6%, while the leading fiber production at a rate of 64% is polyester, polyamide, and polypropylene. And flax fibers have stayed at a pretty stable rate between 0.7 and 1.5 million tons of the last 20 years. It is uncertain when we started to use food or fiber flax in Norway. The fiber flax and linen cloth was first found at a settlement in Fløksand in Nordhordland from the 4th century AD. Due to the fact that the fiber consists of almost pure cellulose and dissolves easily, it is almost impossible to find textiles in archaeological excavations. Most of the soil in Norway is also acidic, and then the fiber disappears. Flax may therefore have been cultivated for a lot longer. Historically, Norway never probably had a booming flax production and fiber made for industry. We know very little about written contents that suggest that the textile mills in our major cities spun thread made from Norwegian-grown flax. Indications rather suggest that flax grown in Norway during the 18th and 19th centuries were most turned into fabrics manually at the farms by skilled crafters, and the thread that was spun for textiles at bigger facilities were from imported material. But there is still need for more investigation, digging into the National Archives. During the last 20 years, there have been several projects trying to vitalize flax production in our country. The sad side of it is that it seems that they have not lived to see the light of today. We've had companies producing flax oil on a commercial scale. Before, you can also find consultants within the regional agriculture offices that gave advice or suggestions regarding plant-based fibers. You also had the textile industry that died in the mid-1900s. Norway today has an active and skilled flax community with committed and resourceful people who are ready to invest in Norwegian flax and linen production. And I do feel that we all believe that now the time is right. National and international pressure is on our political leaders and our governments. Sustainability, green initiatives, soil missions, and many other demands are on us due to climate change and overproduction, overconsumption. The fast fashion textile sector is finally having a rough time keeping their overproduction vision close to heart. Interest in local food has turned into interest in local textiles. Farmers have told that they have spots of land that quite swiftly could be turned into patches of flax growing, and several are also interested in investing in plant fibers as a business activity. So we believe that to secure the transfer from past to future, we should focus on finding ways to fully explore the flax as a plant fiber and look for ways to maximize the outcome of all the skills we do have when it comes to craft of growing and spinning flax. The square meter of flax project and the focus on seed quality and different ancient seeds used in our countries before have started the transition from a historical to a possible active Nordic flax and linen business in the future. What we believe is crucial is that we do not stop at the craft level, but work towards and creating industry, small-scale industry based on either old and known machinery or innovative new ways of designing small mills like the wool industry has been blessed with. If we together search for production facilities and manufacturing options, that gives us the full production line of making flax-based yarn. It is also vital for us when doing so that several of the soil-to-soil factors are incorporated within the future. It's difficult to start investing in machinery that scotch or spin flax if there is not enough interest in growing it, as well as we cannot start growing several hundred acres of flax if we do not have a plan for logistics, preparations, refining, sales, etc. It all comes together as one. It is also important that all the side streams from the high-quality textile fiber production is not wasted. Flax plant material not used in textile production can be investigated for animal feed, bedding, gardening, etc. It can also be estimated that only 15 to 20% of a bale of flax can be turned into pre-yarn for spinning. So maybe we can learn from what France and Italy now invest in, and that can be interesting for our own development. What we can do is begin the process of understanding what the different Nordic countries have of equipment from former years of production, what industrial and technical skills are needed to activate the machinery, and map our agricultural interest in growing flax on a bigger scale. A Nordic collaboration and incentive might also spark political change. So when choosing a future that requires that our activities are to be more compatible with the ecological systems that we function with, we add more pressure on developers and support from the politicians. We believe that they need to show us that what they advance on are projects that are compatible with long-term health of our surrounding ecological systems, hence the importance of creating functional, local textile communities that inspires regenerating soil practices, advancing craft skills and knowledge and innovation on small and medium production facilities that form textile production and composting. So if we are to suggest a few political areas for change, it would be that politicians should invest in local and regional textile industry based on local resources. In Norway, they're putting more interest in craft as educational programs all over Norway, but we also need work for all the students and crafters. It is not a sustainable economical future for all crafters to become self-employed. Political interest and financial support in creating rural industries for textile crafters can have positive impact on regional rural areas and at the same time create new industry. This could be done in a similar matter as France just did. They have increased taxes on imported fast fashion products, redistributing the extra income to national textile producers, making use of local resources. The second areas for change would be to redefine agricultural policies so that textile farmers have the same subsidy regulation as food farmers. So if a textile farmer should stand a chance, they need to be supported by national subsidy regulation in the same manner as food producers are. Food production and textile production are both agricultural responsibilities. And the last but not the least, we want the policy makers to be critical to international and European sustainability standards that include factors in their data production that is not compatible with national preconditions such as agriculture, animal farming, or industry. Thank you so much for listening in on this long talk with some disturbance from a minor child.
That's totally okay,
Yeah.
Nina. Nice to hear a little voice. Thank you very much for your very interesting lecture. Again, a lot to think about, and together with Johanna's lecture, it makes a lot of sense. So we are very pleased to have you both on board. Linda, is there any questions in the chat that you have noticed?
No.
No.
So if now is the chance, if you have any questions.
In the meantime, when people think of a question, I can tell that here in Denmark, we talk about the wrinkles, as Johanna talked about, and we call it, for linen, we call it noble wrinkles, because it's okay. You don't have to iron it all the time. Maybe we can also tell that Nina spoke about the political spark, that behind 1 square meter flax is the Nordic cooperation group of Nordic craft organizations that's called Nordic Handicraft Association, and we cooperate about projects as this 1 square meter flax. We meet once a year to discuss what happens in our organizations and countries within crafts, and it's a very giving association. And we have also established what we call Nordic Craft Week. It's a week in the beginning of September. It's events on Facebook, and you find the page Nordic Craft Week, and you can follow it along. And last year we had the theme of 1 square meter flax. It's still all there, so join us on Nordic craft week.
Yeah, and here now, okay, Mette, she has a technical question. What kind of thread do you use to sew garments from linen if it's supposed to be degradable?
I can maybe
Johanna?
answer.
Yeah.
So any natural fiber that is then also not dyed with synthetic dyes that are harmful. So I, for example, use a GOTS certified organic cotton sewing thread. I use this mainly because so that I can over dye the garments that I sew from linen or cotton, because I'm very indecisive, and it's nice to be able to over dye them without the thread being not dyed. So it is possible to get commercially. I've not seen linen thread, but it should be possible. But commercial and with the strength. But cotton thread is widely available, and it's also biodegradable. And if you go for GOTS certified or Oquatex certified, those should be safe to also use that way.
Okay, thank you. And another question, or maybe a proposal from Ermo. She or he has a proposal that countries can cooperate to grow and make a sail for a Viking boat. That's a good one. So you can think about that, I guess.
Around the thread to sew with, I can mention that there's a new organic thread from DMC yarn. It's in wool, I know, but it's plant colored, and it's absolutely lovely, and organic also. So that's for the wool, but hopefully they would like to do something like that in cotton, and maybe in linen.
Yes.
Okay, there's no more questions in the chat now.
The thing is that linen is not the strongest fiber. So you want a joining thread to be cotton or potentially a hemp fiber, but that's again not commercially available. So linen has really good drape and properties, but it's not the fiber you want for the actual tensile strength, tear strength. Though we have other fibers that are really great for this, and this is because it has no elasticity. So this is why it's great for fabric, for embroidery, for home textiles, but it's not the thread you want to join your fabric in, because you want some elasticity in your sewing thread. Sorry, that was just a very technical thing. So yeah, for the crafters.
Yes, there's a couple. Is there anything else to mention, Linda?
Yes, Teja says that the Viking boats have sails made of wool. I know that too, because we have these Viking reenactment groups here that actually have made these sails using wool. And Ingeborg, she uses Bukkens lingarn. That's for sewing, I guess. And I can also mention that I made a full costume for my son last winter, and I also used the linen thread for the shirt with beeswax.
I'm not sure whether they are natural dyed. I think they are synthetic dyed, but I don't know.
No.
Maybe we're getting into a bit of a wormhole now. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Maybe Nina can confirm, but for the Danes, there has just been established a Fibershed here in Denmark, or founded, yes. I think in January they made a group who worked with the Fibershed.
Yes,
were
yes,
you there, Johanna? No.
I think there is now a Fibershed community in Denmark, in Finland. There is nothing in Sweden yet or Iceland. Yeah. But then in Belgium, Germany, Italy, France, the Netherlands, Spain.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then we might finish this. How can we make a Fibershed in Denmark? I think, no, in Sweden. I think someone asked.
Yeah.
There is a well, how you make it is that you contact the Fibershed internationally in California and USA, and you talk to them about creating a Fibershed in Sweden. I know several people that were interested in doing it, but they were in the wool industry, and now that they've started the wool initiative, they've kind of worked there instead. But there is absolutely I feel there is need for a Fibershed in Sweden also, because it's not only about wool and it's not only about sheep's wool, but it's also about all the other different fibers and all the different layers within the value, and not the value chain, but the textile life cycle, I would say. So, and it's so interesting to see how when you have this umbrella where you can invite everyone in, it's not only sheep or wool producers, but actually now that we talk about flax, or we talk about hemp, we talk about alpaca, we talk about skins from cows. So you can also contact me if you would like any more information about how you move on, or people to contact.
Okay.
Yes.
There's no, I don't see any more questions in the chat.
Okay. Fine. Then I think we can say thank you so much for your participation, all of you. We have been between 75 and 80 persons who have taken part of the webinar. That's great. We say thank you very much to Johanna and to Nina for letting us know a lot of your knowledge. That's very exciting. We hope to see you again in the fall, maybe September, maybe October. We don't know yet. So we hope you will have a very nice flax season, grow a lot of flax. And from Radon and Linda, I think too, and me, we have cooperated about the program. I think thank you very much, all of you, and have a nice time. See you.
Thank you.